The meeting to order of the Standing Committee on International Trade. Pursuant to the order of reference of Thursday, February 6, 2020, Bill C-4, an act to implement the agreement between Canada, the United States of America, and the United Mexican States. Today we are going to be doing clause-by-clause consideration of Bill C-4, and we are joined by the Department of Foreign Affairs, Trade and Development, Nicola Waterfield, Deputy Director, Trade Negotiations, North America Division, Steve Earle, Chief Negotiator and Assistant Deputy Minister, Trade Policy and Negotiations, Robert Brookfield, Director General, Trade Law, Andrew McCracken, Director, Trade Negotiations, North America Division, and Vicki Yacobelis, Counsel for Trade Law Bureau. Thank you all for coming this morning. Before we commence our clause-by-clause consideration, Ms. Benayan.
Yes, I just wanted to take the floor further to some discussions that were had last night at the end of committee, and put forward a proposal for discrimony these past 2 weeks, that the committee task the analysts to prepare a letter from the committee to the Deputy Prime Minister for release after the royal assent of Bill C-4, and that the letter briefly summarize the testimony of witnesses and the recommendations made by witnesses for the Deputy Prime Minister to consider. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I have Mr. Dollywall, Mr. Hoback.
I think this is a great idea, and we should call the question on this.
All right. I think Mr. Hoback wants to make a comment.
Yeah, no, that's great, and I am in favor of this. When we heard testimony last night, I just think of Ken, the one softwood lumber producer. He had a message that he said it never gets heard. So this is a chance for that message to be heard. So I think it's a good idea. So I'm in favor of it for sure.
Okay, all those in favor? Okay, carried unanimously. Great committee. All right, before we go into clause by clause, I need to, given the fact that we have 4 new members at committee, and it's their first time with clause by clause, so I will briefly read out some of the instructions and the way it'll flow this morning. As the name indicates, this is an examination of all of the clauses in the order in which they appear in the bill. I will call each clause successfully, and each clause is subject to debate and a vote. If there are amendments to the clause in question, I will recognize the member proposing it, who may explain it. The amendment will then be open for debate. When no further members wish to intervene, the amendment will be voted on. Amendments will be considered in the order in which they appear in the package that each member has received from the clerk. In addition to having to be properly drafted in a legal sense, amendments must also be procedurally admissible. The chair may be called upon to rule amendments inadmissible if they go against the principle of the bill or beyond the scope of the bill, both of which were adopted by the House when it agreed to the bill at second reading, or if they offend the financial prerogative of the Crown. If you wish to eliminate a clause of the bill altogether, the proper course of action is to vote against that clause when the time comes, not to propose an amendment to delete it. As indicated earlier, the committee will go through the amendments in the order in which they appear and vote on them one at a time. Amendments have been given a number in the top right corner to indicate which party submitted them. There is no need for a seconder to move an amendment. Once moved, you will need unanimous consent, though, to withdraw it. During debate on an amendment, members are permitted to move sub-amendments. These sub-amendments do not require the approval of the mover of the amendment. Only one sub-amendment will be considered at a time, and sub-amendments cannot be amended. Once every clause has been voted on, the committee will vote on the title and the bill itself. If any amendments have been adopted by the committee, an order to reprint the bill will be required so that the House has a proper copy for use at report stage. Finally, the committee will have to order the chair to report the bill to the House. That report contains only the text of any adopted amendments, as well as an indication of any deleted clauses. And speaking to any of the amendments, it's 5 minutes per clause per party as we move forward. Mr. Hoback.
Sure. In light of speeding things up, I know in past when I was chairing in other bills, we've seen clauses grouped when there was no controversy amongst the members. I hope you'll do that today.
think that's an excellent idea. Thank you. Mr. Dhaliwal.
Second the idea by Mr. Hallback, and let me get this bill through the House ASAP, and I would recommend that we move Class 1 all the way to Class 2 and 12 be carried.
All right. Well, pursuant to Standing Order 75-1, consideration of Clause 1, which is the short title, is postponed to the, Mr. Blake, is postponed till the end of all of the clauses. Mr. Blakey?
Thank you. I just wanted to state for the record that I agree with grouping the clauses.
Okay. Thank you very much. All right. So now I'm going to start with Clause 2. Mr. Blakey, do you wish to speak to this?
I do. Thank you. So the amendment that I'm moving for Clause 2 is to add a definition to the Act of Indigenous Peoples of Canada. This is necessary in order to make a further amendment, which would introduce a non-derogation clause. We heard about that in the testimony from the AFN. It's consistent with a report that the Senate made on non-derogation clauses in 2007, I believe, and I think this is part of the value-added detailed work that legislators can do, particularly when we're talking about reconciliation. These are some of the things that we can do to move forward on that path, which is why we're happy to be moving this amendment today. And I do have to say, in the event that we don't add the definition, that is to say, if this amendment is voted down, I don't think there would be much point in moving the subsequent amendment, which is the actual non-derogation clause, because without the definition, it wouldn't make sense. So I consider us to be voting effectively on the non-derogation clause with respect to this amendment. If it fails, I won't be moving my other amendment.
Mr. Hoback.
Yeah, you know, this is one of those examples where if we had more time, I'd like to really look at it a lot closer because it may be a good idea, but I definitely want to make sure it doesn't have any negative consequences on moving the actual legislation forward or create a situation where we end up being stalled or have to go to renegotiate. So that is my holdback on that. I'm not against it necessarily. I just would like to have more information. So I'd just like to get that in the record right now.
Then? Sure.
Recorded vote, Madam Chair.
Sure. That's fine.
Any further comments on NDP 1?
Madam Chair, I'd like to speak, and since my colleague, Mr. Blakey, indicated that if NDP 1 does not move forward, then that he will not pursue NDP amendments 2 and 3, I'd like to speak to all of them as a whole. Firstly, as I indicated to my colleague yesterday, the intent of this amendment is positive, and we on the side are very much in favor of the spirit and the intent of the amendment. And it is one of the reasons why our main objective for the new NAFTA was to better reflect the interests of Indigenous peoples. We indeed worked very closely with Perry Bellegarde and others to secure important clarity in the form of a general exception related to the rights of Indigenous peoples, as well as policy flexibility for Indigenous peoples and Indigenous-owned businesses in CUSMA, as you know. However, that said, this amendment is a departure from our other free trade agreements. And from the and it does cause some legal inconsistencies with other FTAs which Canada has signed. I would also note that, as I'm sure everybody in this room knows, Canada's obligations to Indigenous peoples are enshrined in the Canadian Constitution, which supersedes all other legislation, including CUSMA, and renders these amendments redundant. And for that reason, Madam Chair, we will not be voting in favor of these amendments.
Any further comment on NDP 1? Okay. All those in favor of NDP 1, and it's a recorded vote. All right. Madam Clerk.
Mr. Aria? Mr. Aria?
No. Say no. No.
Ms. Bendayan? Mr. Dhaliwal?
No.
Mr. Sarai?
No.
Mr. Sheehan?
No.
Mr. Carey? Mr. Hoback?
Abstain.
Mr. Cram?
Abstain.
Mr. Lewis?
Abstain.
Mr. Savard-Tremblay?
Favorable.
Mr. Mr. Blakey?
Okay. So the amendment from Mr. Blakey is defeated. Shall Clause 2 carry? All those in favor of Clause 2, it carries.
Madam
Okay, I
Chair,
will attempt.
can
Yes.
we group the clauses now?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm going to do that.
Okay.
So I need unanimous consent, though, to group Clause 3 to Clause 5. Do I have unanimous consent to go? All right, all those in favor of Clause 3 to Clause 5?
Good.
All right, carries. All right, now, Mr. Blakey, your new Clause 5.1, you're not moving it. All right. Okay, so again, can I have unanimous consent to group clauses 6 to 212? Unanimous consent? This carries. All those in favor of clauses 6 to 212? That's a wonderful committee. We'll have to do that. All right. Now we're now looking at a clause that Mr. Manley and the Green Party has introduced. Do you wish to speak to it, Mr. Manley? Let's go ahead.
So this clause doesn't change the agreement. What it does is it changes the way that the committee reports on the agreement. And given the debate that I've heard in the House of Commons about this agreement, there's been a lot of discussion about transparency, and I've heard from the Conservatives that they want to see economic reports, and I've heard from the Liberals that in the past they weren't happy with the way that agreements were negotiated because they felt like they were left out. And so I think this just adds a level of transparency to reviewing the agreement after it's been signed and ratified, and that we can see what the socioeconomic benefits or drawbacks of the agreement are. The clause reads that within 2 years after the day on which this section comes into force, and every 2 years after that, a review of the socioeconomic impacts of the agreement on Canadians and on the Canadian economy, broken down by industry sector, is to be undertaken by the Committee of the Senate, of the House of Commons, or both Houses of Parliament, that may be designated or established for the purpose of the review. The committee is to submit a report containing any findings or recommendations that it considers appropriate to the House or Houses of Parliament of which it is a committee. And this will, I think, help Parliament understand as we move forward into the review of the agreement what the impacts of the agreement are, and as we move towards that 16-year renegotiation period, we're going to have a better understanding of what the impacts are for Canadians and Canadian industry. Thank you.
Mr. Hoback. 213 to what?
So the spirit of it, I think, is good. It's just, is this the right place to do it? Would be the first question, and then I think we automatically, as a committee, we can kind of determine that fate amongst ourselves. So if we decide if we want to take on that review, we can go ahead and do that at any point in time. It doesn't have to be at a certain specific period. And in this agreement, you've got a review happening in 5 years, regardless. So we will abstain. We just, again, it's just, is this the right place? Would be the question. Yeah.
Mr. Blakey?
Thank you. And I just wanted to echo the comments about transparency. I mean, I think even in some of the testimony we heard just yesterday, talked about how at the moment a lot of these mechanisms, whether it's getting an economic impact assessment or whether it's how we do consultation on trade agreements, is really dependent on the culture of the government of the day. And so even when you have governments that are doing it relatively better than other governments, there's no guarantee in that. This would provide for a mandatory review. We know that there's a sunset clause. That means that we are going to be looking at the agreement at some point. It would be good to have that economic information. We know that sometimes you don't get it in a timely way. And that point has been belabored here. I won't do it again. But this would be a way of ensuring that we get that information in a timely way as the negotiations open up as a result of the sunset clause that's in the agreement, whether people want it there or not. So that's why I'll be supporting the amendment today.
Mr. Sheehan?
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Manley, for the participating in these, in this very important committee meetings. One of the things that we had heard over and over again, in particular, since I've been at this right from the get-go, in particular with the 232 tariffs on steel and whatnot, is that when Trump first positioned this, he wanted it to sunset in 5 years, and we heard loud and clear from both businesses and unions that they need certainty, that to constantly be at this would not be good. So we negotiated, the 16 years, but there is that review in 5 years. It was, not a bad thing. So it's not a full sunset. However, there is that review in 5 years. And when you're reviewing in 5 years, meaning you're probably getting ready, the year before to review it. So it's constant. And I think Mr. Holbach made an excellent agreement. It means that we can review this at any time. In 2 weeks, not 2 years, in 2 months if we felt necessary. And that goes for the Senate too as well. So there already is that mechanism to review things earlier. And if it is seen by any member that is pertinent, then I think we should. So therefore, I think because we heard so much over the last number of years about we need certainty for a certain amount of time and not such a short time that we'll be voting against it. But again, thank you very much for your participation, and I think that this particular NAFTA deal with its green clauses, green parts of it is pretty exciting moving forward. So again, thank you very much for your amendment, but we will not be supporting it for those reasons.
Okay, any further discussion or comment? Mr. Manley?
Can I ask for a recorded vote on this?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
That's fine.
All right.
All right. All right. All those in favor of PB1, the clause which is moved. Oh, we're back over to. Okay.
Mr. Aria? Ms. Bandayan?
No.
Mr. Dhaliwal?
Nay.
Mr. Sarai? Mr. Sheehan?
No.
Mr. Carey?
Abstain.
Mr. Holbach?
Abstain.
Mr. Cram?
Abstain.
Mr. Lewis?
Abstain.
Mr. Sarah Tremblay?
Favorable.
Mr. Blakey?
Yes.
Okay. The amendment is defeated. All right. Back to our clauses. Shall clause 213 carry? All those in favor? Opposed? It carries. All right. Shall Schedule 1 carry? Carried. Shall Schedule 2 carry? Shall Schedule 3 carry? Shall Schedule 4 and 5 carry? Yes. Shall the short title carry? New NAFTA. How's that? Okay. This act may be cited as the Canada-United States-Mexico Agreement Implementation Act. That's a short one. So, shall the short title carry? Yes. Shall the title carry? Ready? Shall the bill carry? Shall the chair report the bill to the House? Absolutely. All those in favor? Absolutely. The bill has carried. We are going to try as a team to present the bill at 10 o'clock when the House reconvenes. There, wonderful. Thank you to all of the excellent people that have done all of this wonderful work for us, our support staff, and Mr. Holbach.
All the staff and all the team.
Thank you to our staff, to people in the kitchen, to the clerks, to the translators. It's been a heavy couple of weeks, but you've all done a wonderful job.
And to the chief negotiator and his team.
Exactly. And to this wonderful team that we have on international trade. Thank you all very much for everybody's cooperation. Meeting is adjourned.